I received the message that you all were having this incredibly important meeting a few days ago and was very, very delighted to be asked to come and share a few words. I am Dr. Lakia Bailey. I'm, as was mentioned, a research scientist and executive director of the Sickle Cell Consortium, and I am an adult living with sickle cell disease. The Odyssey, the journey for diagnosis is a challenging one. When I was born in the late 70s, sickle cell disease was not yet part of the Newborn Screening Act. And so my mother had to fight. She fought for a diagnosis for a very long time, from doctor to doctor to doctor. My parents kept saying something is wrong with my daughter. And eventually my mother was accused of having Munchausen syndrome. They thought that she was hurting me intentionally. Finally, we found a physician, just graduated from medical school, that said, I recognize this. And he sent me to a special hospital where we finally got my diagnosis. My mother was told, don't worry, she will never be sick. It's not a big deal. Of course, that turned out to be incredibly incorrect. I've been in and out of hospitals my entire life, and the challenges that have come from having sickle cell disease are numerous. As you may or may not know, sickle cell is a very rare disease. It is a single point mutation on chromosome 11, where one amino acid one switch caused it to go from glutamic acid to valine in one particular location, but it was a location that coded for hemoglobin. And so the hemoglobin becomes misshapen and lots of things occur: organ damage, failure, intense pain. And it is an ongoing, life-threatening, and often fatal disease. There are many, many of us living with sickle cell disease in this country. It is a rare disease, but it is a disease that impacts over 100,000 people in America. The fight for diagnosis, and finally that diagnosis, is a colossal one. As you heard from the parents, caregivers raising these children are unbelievably strong. They are the strongest people I will ever meet. My mother, all the caregivers in the world. That strength defies logic. They shouldn't have to be. The fight for diagnosis should not be as devastating as it often becomes. It's very strange to hear someone say, I'm relieved. But the thing is, I know what's wrong with me. I know something's wrong, or I know something's wrong with my child. I am relieved that now that you do too. We're relieved when we get these diagnoses because finally, as you've heard from the previous four, it can send us on a journey. I was asked to speak a bit about that diagnosis, how that has difficult for me. Sickle cell is now part of the newborn screening. Unfortunately, there are still many, many people who aren't being told once those diagnoses come in, and those that are carrying the trait, they are not being told. They don't have the disease, so they're not being told that it's only the trait, because there's no such thing as only the trait. The trait itself means that you have the potential of passing this disease down to your children, and this is information that must be known. I wanted to share a couple of things. Although I've been in and out of hospitals my entire life, this community, we have joined together to fight for change, to insist upon change. Sickle cell disease was first described in Western literature in 1910. So in over 108 years, there has only been one FDA-approved treatment for sickle cell disease. And that's not a treatment, it's not a cure, it's a treatment, and it came on the back of a different diagnosis of a different disease. And there has finally been one other that we recently have acquired. The need for early diagnosis amongst rare disease families in general can change these things. Sickle cell disease needs more attention. And just like everyone living with these rare disease, we need the support of the bills that have been mentioned, and I would be remiss if I did not ask, in addition, the Sickle Cell Disease and Other Inheritable Blood Disorders Research, Surveillance, and Prevention Treatment Act that's out right now, S2465. These diseases, and the fact that there are so many living with them, the undiagnosed diseases in this country, the number is astonishing. And when you read that, it is astonishing to learn that there are so many people and so many parents still having to fight the same fight my parents fought. And it continues. Having one diagnosis doesn't preclude that you have all diagnoses. I came here straight from Boston, where a phenomenal young woman, 25 years old, recently lost her battle. I was there to be with her. I did not expect her to die the next day. Jasmine Rivera did not have to die. They couldn't get a diagnosis. It wasn't until her mother took her out of the hospital against medical advice and took her around and around and fought that they finally got her diagnosis. The irony of that is that she had recently undergone a bone marrow transplant. She had been cured. She had her father's grafted bone marrow and was no longer expressing sickle cell disease, but was carrying the trait. But a second diagnosis, and they couldn't get it in time. You have to forgive me because this was a few days ago. And so, when I asked her mother, what should I share? She wanted me to express how important it was that we change this. Miss Maria is the strongest woman I've ever met, but she shouldn't have to be. She should not be about to bury her 25-year-old daughter. And so we need these newborn screening. We need these bills passed. We need it more than anything, that I've ever wanted in my life. We are a strong and amazing community living with rare diseases. And we will continue to be strong. We will continue to fight for change. But we need support, because as strong as these parents are, they shouldn't have to be. I wanted to share one thing, and that was Jasmine had a channel, Beauty Within Sickle Cell, because she believed there was beauty in rare disease. There is beauty in sickle cell and in taking pride in yourself and pride in your community. And so for those that are watching via the live stream, I would encourage you to find the beauty in your diagnosis, to find the strength that is inherent therein, and to share that with the rest of your community. We are here and we are strong, but we need congressional support. Thank you.